Episode 7, Retreat from the World, told by Calder Rowan. The desert has always been a good stage for the end of time, not because it's empty. Deserts are full of stubborn life, invertebrates and nocturnal mammals and plants that have learned to survive by refusing to perform, but because it feels empty to the human nervous system. Your senses scan and find little. The mind fills the blank with meaning. You start hearing your own thoughts as if they were revelations. That's why the first monks went into the Egyptian desert. That's why prophets wandered into wilderness. That's why modern apocalyptic movements keep rediscovering dry places and calling them sanctuary. The desert is a low-noise environment, and low-noise environments make control easier. I was thinking about all of that while two people in plain clothes waited in my building lobby, and my laptop counted down the minutes to a private live stream labeled Reintegration Session. Guest, Teresa Valdez. In the same hour, my past showed up in a suitless, badge-flashing form, and my present threatened to turn my partner into content. I don't recommend that combination. It makes time feel like a trap. Upstairs, Lin May sat rigid in her chair, the light from her monitors washing her face into something pale and sharp. Noah Pike stood at the window, watching the marina with a stillness that was no longer performative. It was something he'd earned the hard way. Jun, Sister Jun, as she insisted on calling herself, sat in my small conference room wrapped in a blanket, hands locked around a mug she wasn't drinking from. She watched our mouths when we spoke, like she was trying to remember how language is supposed to move. My receptionist buzzed again. "Calder," she said. "They're asking if you're coming down." I looked at the countdown on Lin May's laptop. 00:07:18. 7 minutes until Tess went live. Noah turned from the window. "Don't go," he said. I didn't ask what he meant. We were beyond clarifying. He meant, don't go downstairs and let the government take you before we see what happens to Tess. He also meant, don't go downstairs because it will remind you what you used to be. Lin May's voice was quiet. "If you don't go," she said, "they'll come up." Jun whispered almost to herself, "Witnesses pressure." Noah's jaw tightened at the phrase. The sutra's language had already colonized the room. I stood, picked up my jacket, and walked to the stairwell. "Keep the stream ready," I told Lin May. "Record everything." Lin May nodded once, like a surgeon. I went down. They didn't introduce themselves with theatrical authority. They didn't lean on their badge like a prop. They behaved the way competent people behave when they know the badge is real and doesn't need ornament. The woman was in her 40s, hair pulled back, eyes clear. The man was younger, early 30s, tall and watchful, hands loosely at his sides in the posture of someone trained not to telegraph tension. The woman held out a badge just long enough for me to register it. DOJ, Civil Oversight, not FBI, not local. Something that existed in the gray zone between law and conscience. "Calder Rowan?" she asked, as if she already knew the answer but needed the ritual. "Yes," I said. "I'm Marin Shu," she said. "This is Devlin Park." Devlin nodded once, minimal. "We'd like to speak with you," Marin said. "Privately." "Privately is expensive in Sausalito," I said, "and I'm already booked." Marin's expression didn't shift. "We can come upstairs," she said. "I know," I replied. She glanced past me toward the stairwell, as if gauging how many people were behind my door. "We're not here to arrest you," she said. "That's a comforting sentence," I said, "because it has a twin, not yet." Devlin's mouth tightened slightly. Marin stayed calm. "We're here about a document," she said. "The Compliance Sutra," I replied. Marin's eyes narrowed a fraction, surprise quickly controlled. "Yes," she said. Devlin looked at her, then at me. "You've seen it," he said. "Parts of it," I said. "Enough." Marin held my gaze. "We believe it's being circulated by a domestic influence network with ties to defense contractors," she said. "We also believe some of the content originated in government training materials." I didn't answer. Silence is a form of testimony. It's also a form of survival. Devlin spoke, voice steady. Mr. Rowan, did you write any of the material in that document? There it was, the clean, surgical question. No drama, no accusation, just a blade. You didn't come here without reading my file, I said. Marin didn't deny it. We did, she said. And we know you're not currently employed by the government. We also know you've been investigating groups that intersect with this network. She paused, then added, We know your partner is missing. The word partner landed oddly. Tess would have corrected it with a snort. I'm not his partner, I'm his accountant with legs. Where is she? I asked. Devlin's eyes held mine. We think she's being moved, he said. To where? I asked. Marin's voice stayed calm. The Mojave, she said. A compound that calls itself Retreat from the World. My stomach tightened. Desert, phase entry, the coordinates in the envelope, the line in the sutra, Retreat from the World, phase entry. You know about it? I said. We've been tracking it, Marin replied. Then you can get her out, I said. Not a question. Marin's gaze didn't flinch. It's not that simple, she said. It's never simple when you don't want to get your hands dirty, I said. Devlin's posture shifted. Subtle irritation. Marin held it. We don't have probable cause for a raid, she said. Not yet. We have intelligence. We have patterns. But we need evidence that will hold. And you thought I'd be your evidence, I said. Marin's expression softened a fraction. Not sympathy exactly. Recognition. We thought you might help us understand the network, she said. And yes, we thought you might help us get someone inside. Devlin added, We already have someone. He turned slightly, and for the first time I noticed a third figure standing a few feet back near the building entrance. Not hiding. Just not taking up space. A man in his late 20s or early 30s, average height, face composed in a way that suggested discipline rather than ease. He wore jeans and a plain jacket. Nothing about him screamed agent, which meant he'd been trained well. He stepped forward when Devlin nodded. Elliot Keene, he said. His voice was calm, but his eyes were too awake. Not the bright mania of insomnia, something colder, like someone who has been on alert for too long and can't remember how to stop. Marin gestured toward him. Elliot will go in undercover as a volunteer transfer, she said. We've been monitoring recruitment funnels. He's already on their radar. Devlin's gaze stayed on me. We want you to support the operation, he said, and we want you to tell us exactly what you remember about the manual material. I looked at Elliot. He met my gaze without flinching. Then, almost imperceptibly, his eyes flicked past me to the stairwell, toward the office upstairs, toward my team, toward whatever crisis I was holding back from the lobby. He knew something was happening. Marin spoke again. We can't compel you, she said, not right now. But if we don't understand the origin of those phrases, the people using them will keep claiming legitimacy. They'll keep saying, even the government says this is best practice. A sentence can carry a badge. I swallowed. Come upstairs, I said. Marin nodded once. Devlin and Elliot followed. As we climbed the stairs, I heard Lin May's voice faintly through the office door, counting down technical tight. 00:03:12. 3 minutes until Tess went live. In my office, Marin and Devlin registered the environment quickly. Desks, files, the bay through the window, the subtle chaos of an investigative practice. Elliot's gaze went immediately to Lin May's screens. Noah stood by the window like he'd been welded there. He didn't greet them. His attention stayed on Elliot for half a beat longer than necessary. Lin May glanced up, nodded once, acknowledgement without trust, and went back to the countdown. John watched the newcomers with wary eyes. Marin's gaze landed on John, then on the blanket around her shoulders, and something tightened in her face. You have a witness, she said quietly. Not yours, I replied. Marin didn't argue. She turned to Lin May. What's that? She asked. Lin May's voice was clipped. A live stream, she said, of our missing investigator, if it's real. Devlin's eyes sharpened. Where is it hosted? He asked. Lin May didn't look at him. Not your servers, she said. Elliot's gaze stayed on the screen. I noticed his hands, still, but with a faint tremor at the fingertips. Not fear. Anticipation. Noah murmured, barely audible, "He's not here for paperwork." Maren heard him anyway. "We're here to keep people alive," she said. Noah's eyes flicked to hers. "Then start by not taking Calder away from his chair," he said. The countdown hit 0. Lin May clicked. The screen went black for a second, then resolved into a dimly lit room, a single chair, a fixed camera angle, the kind of framing used in hostage videos and corporate apologies alike. Tess sat in the chair. At first glance, she looked intact, hair brushed, posture upright, hands folded neatly in her lap. But Tess's posture was never neat. Tess sprawled. Tess owned space. Tess's body language always said, "Don't try me." This Tess looked curated. Her eyes were open, but there was a slight delay in her focus, as if her gaze had to travel through a thick substance before it could land. A chemical haze, maybe, or sleep deprivation, or both. A voice spoke from off-camera, calm, female, familiar, Doctora Mara Sable. "State your name," the voice said. Tess's mouth moved. "Teresa Valdez," she said. Her voice was steady, but stripped of its usual acid. It was her voice run through a filter. "State your role," Sable said. Tess blinked. "Financial investigator," she said. "State your error," Sable said. Tess inhaled slowly, then I introduced noise. My jaw tightened. Maren Shu's face went very still. Devlin's eyes narrowed. Elliot's gaze didn't leave the screen. Sable's voice continued. "What is noise?" Tess paused, as if choosing words from a limited shelf. "Noise is resistance," she said. "No," Noah whispered, and the whisper carried a kind of grief. Sable's voice. "What is integrity?" Tess's mouth moved. "Integrity is momentum." The words felt like rust in my throat. Then Tess did something so subtle most people would miss it. She shifted her hands in her lap, 2 fingers tapping, then 3, then 1. Noah saw it too. His eyes sharpened. Lin May froze, then started recording the screen at higher resolution. Tess's fingers tapped again, 2, 3, 1. Then she spoke a sentence that didn't fit the script. "I am not," she began, and then her eyes flicked upward as if someone off-camera had moved. She corrected mid-breath. "I am not harmed." Sable's voice cut in smoothly. "You are safe," she said. "Continue." Tess's mouth tightened slightly. "I release the ledger," she said. Ledger. Tess's own language twisted. Then she tapped again, faster, 2, 3, 1. Maren whispered, "What is that?" Lin May's fingers moved. "It's a code," she said. "Tess is still Tess." Noah's voice was low. 231 could be a route, he said. "Highway, or a verse, or—" Lin May cut him off gently. "Wait," she said. She zoomed into the frame. There was a reflection in Tess's eyes, tiny, barely visible, a rectangle of light. On that light, for a split second, a line of text. Lin May froze the frame and enhanced it. The reflection resolved into a monitor in the room with Tess. On it, a location tag. Sable Range, Unit 23.1, Unit 23.1, 231. Tess wasn't tapping randomly. She was giving us coordinates disguised as nervous movement. Lin May's voice went quiet. "She's in the desert," she said, "and she just told us where." Maren's face tightened. "We need that recording," she said. Lin May didn't look at her. "You'll get what you need," she said. "You'll get it when I decide it won't get Jun killed." Jun flinched at her own name. Sable's voice on the stream softened. "What is your commitment?" Tess's eyes looked emptier now, but her mouth still worked. "I will sever," she said. Sever. Sable. Sever what? Tess's lips moved. "All ties." The stream cut to black. A line of text appeared. "Reintegration complete. Witness restores integrity." Then the feed ended. For a moment, the room was silent in the real world, as if we were all waiting for someone to tell us what we had just watched. Noah broke it first. His voice was low, controlled, but there was heat under it. "That was a coercion ritual," he said, "broadcast as therapy." Maren's voice was tight. "That's evidence," she said. "It's a hostage video," Noah snapped. "Don't flatter it." Devlin's jaw tightened. "It will hold in court," he said. "It might," Lin May said, "or it will be argued into abstraction by lawyers funded by Harborlight." Elliot spoke for the first time since the stream ended. "She's still fighting," he said softly. His eyes were fixed on the black screen as if Tess was still there, as if staring could keep her anchored. I looked at Maren. "You said you wanted to get someone inside," I said. Maren nodded. "Elliot," she said. I looked at Elliot. "You still want to go?" I asked. Elliot's gaze finally shifted to mine. In it, I saw something I didn't like. Longing, not longing for the mission, longing for the kind of clarity the cult was selling. "I can do it," he said. Noah studied him, then said quietly, "That's not what he asked." Elliot's mouth tightened. "Yes," he said. "I want to go." Maren's voice stayed professional. "We'll provide support," she said. "Extraction plan, comms." Lin May cut in. "Your comms will die out there," she said. "Desert compounds know how to vanish from networks. That's why they're in the desert." Devlin's eyes flicked to her. "Then how do you propose we do it?" he asked. Lin May looked at Elliot like he was an equation. "He'll carry a beacon," she said. "Not a phone, not a GPS tag. Something analog enough to survive, small enough to hide." Devlin looked skeptical. Lin May ignored him. "Noah," I said. "You're on Elliot." Noah's gaze stayed on Elliot a second longer than necessary. Then he nodded once. "Yeah," he said. "I'm on him." Maren turned to me. "And you," she said. "We need to talk about the manual." I held her gaze. "After we get Tess," I said. Maren didn't like it, but she understood triage. "Fine," she said. "But you're coming with us to the desert." Devlin added, "We're not letting you freelance into a federal investigation." I almost laughed. The idea that this network cared about federal boundaries was adorable. "Don't mistake my cooperation for obedience," I said. Devlin's eyes narrowed. "Integrity is—" He caught himself. The phrase hovered on his tongue like a reflex. Noah's gaze sharpened. Lin May's fingers paused. Devlin cleared his throat. "Fine," he said. "Call it cooperation." Elliot's hands flexed once, then stilled. Jun whispered, barely audible, "Desert is clean." Lin May looked at her, voice gentle for once. "The desert isn't clean," she said. "It just hides stains better." We left before noon. The Bay Area is so saturated with signal, cell towers, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth pings, constant invisible negotiation, that you forget what silence feels like until you're hours away and your phone stops hunting for a network like an anxious animal. The drive east begins with familiarity. Bridges, hills, the long grind through traffic that pretends it's not a ritual. Then the land opens into the Central Valley, flat, agricultural, engineered. It's a human desert of a different kind, canals, irrigation, food grown on grids. Noah drove. Lin May sat in the back seat with her laptop open, tethered to a small hotspot she'd built from parts Devlin pretended not to notice. Maren and Devlin followed in a separate vehicle with Elliot, because government people like to control compartments. I watched the landscape and tried not to think about the sutra. I failed. Words kept surfacing in my mind like debris. Protocol is relief. Witness is pressure. Integrity is momentum. Rename resistance as noise. In Zen, there's a practice called nenbutsu in some traditions. Repeating a phrase not because it's magical, but because repetition shapes the mind. The sutra was doing a darker version. Repetition as confinement. If you repeat the same framing long enough, you stop noticing it's a frame. Outside Fresno, Noah broke the silence. "You ever read about the Desert Fathers?" he asked. His voice was casual but not idle. Noah doesn't do small talk. When he asks a question, he's mapping. "Yes," I said. "Evagrius," he murmured. "Acedia." "The noonday demon," I said. Noah nodded. Boredom that turns into despair, he said. The feeling that nothing matters and everything is too much, so you either flee or surrender. I watched the flat land slide past. And the monks went into the desert to fight it, I said. They went into the desert to find God, Noah said. But they also went to find structure, a schedule, a community, a way to stop being torn apart by the world. He glanced at me briefly. That's what this cult is selling, he added. Not apocalypse, relief. I didn't answer because he was right, and because being right doesn't make it easier. Lin May spoke from the back seat, eyes on her screen. Elliot's going to be vulnerable to that, she said. Noah's jaw tightened. I know, he replied. You know him? I asked. Noah hesitated. Not personally, he said, but I know the type. He's carrying something. We drove in silence again. As we crossed into the high desert, the air changed. The sky widened. The land began to look less like something designed and more like something old, rock and scrub and distance. You can feel in the desert how much the world doesn't need you. For some people, that's terror. For others, it's mercy. We met the cult's transfer shuttle at a gas station that looked like it had been built to serve people passing through, not people staying. That was the point. The desert doesn't want to advertise permanence. Permanence is how authorities find you. A white bus sat near the far edge of the lot with its windows darkened. No logos, no signage. Just a vehicle with the kind of anonymity that feels deliberate. People gathered near it in small clusters. They didn't look like militia or fringe survivalists. They looked like the Bay, young professionals in muted clothing, older people with expensive hiking gear, a few couples holding hands too tightly, the kind of people who keep emergency kits in their Teslas and call it preparedness. Elliot stood near the bus with Marin and Devlin, listening while a woman in plain clothing gave instructions. Her voice was calm, practiced. Phones will be surrendered, she said. Contacts will be severed. This is a threshold. If you hesitate, do not board. No theatrics, just procedure. Noah parked at a distance with binoculars. Lin May sat in the back seat watching signal data. I watched Elliot. He looked composed, too composed. His eyes scanned the lot, measuring exits. He was doing his job. Then, for a brief second, his gaze drifted toward the open horizon, toward the empty land beyond the gas station. His shoulders lowered a fraction, as if his body had exhaled without his permission. Relief. Marin spoke to him briefly, one quiet sentence I couldn't hear. Then Elliot nodded and stepped forward with the others. A staff member held out a small black pouch. Phones, she said. Elliot handed over a device, probably a burner. Another staff member held out a box. Ring, she said. Elliot slipped on the matte black band Sigma symbol etched inside. He didn't look at it the way most people do when they put on something new. He looked at it like a tool. Then he boarded the bus. The door closed with a soft pneumatic hiss that sounded in the desert air like a seal. Devlin's voice crackled through my earpiece. He's in, he said. Lin May responded low. Beacon's live, she said. Weak, but live. Noah murmured. Don't underestimate weak. Weak signals get lost in quiet. The bus pulled out, heading north and east into the desert. We followed at a distance. There are ways to tail a vehicle in a city. Traffic, lights, turns. In the desert, there is only road. Distance becomes suspicious. So we didn't tail like a spy movie. We followed like ordinary people heading the same direction, letting other vehicles slip between us, using the monotony as cover. After an hour, the bus turned onto a narrower road and then onto a dirt track. Our vehicles stayed on the main road and continued past, pretending we had somewhere else to be. Then Noah took a side route, using a map Lin May had pulled from satellite imagery. You've done this before, I said to Noah. He didn't look at me. I've been followed before, he said. Same skill set. We drove for another hour, then stopped on a low ridge where the land dropped away into a shallow basin. In the distance, barely visible, was the compound. From far away, it looked like a cluster of shipping containers and low buildings arranged with the symmetry of a small town. Solar panels glinted in the sun, a water tower, a perimeter fence that didn't scream prison but didn't pretend to be a garden either. No signs, no flags, just a settlement that had decided it didn't need to be found. Lin May adjusted her antenna and watched her screen. "Beacon's inside," she said. "He's moving. Slow." Noah raised binoculars. "There are cameras on the fence line," he murmured, "and guards." "Guards," I repeated. Noah nodded. "Not uniformed," he said, "but trained." Devlin's voice came through again. "We have a warrant request in motion," he said, "but it's not approved yet. Until then, we observe." Observe. I stared at the compound and thought of Tess's eyes on that live stream, the way she had tapped 23.1 like a heartbeat. Observe was what you do when you've decided other people's suffering is a future paperwork problem. Noah seemed to read my expression. "We can't storm it," he said quietly. "I know," I replied. "But we also can't watch Tess die on another screen." Noah didn't argue. He just watched. Lin May's voice was low. "Elliot's signal is stable," she said. "He's going to be okay for a while." "A while," I said. "In the desert, while is always shorter than you think." Elliot's first update came that night. Not a text. There was no phone. A low-frequency ping translated by Lin May's receiver into a short message, like a telegraph. IN rules, no outside, no contact, no questions after dusk. Scheduled cut day tomorrow. Leader. The custodian. Sable present, Quill present, Valdez unconfirmed. Lin May read it aloud, then looked at me. "Dr. Sable is there," she said. "And Silas," Noah added. The network had gathered. Elliot's second update came in the morning, shorter. Cut day equals severance. They burn letters, destroy phones. They show world-ending briefing. People relax after. Relief is product. That last line, relief is product, hit me harder than I expected. It sounded like Elliot still had his mind intact. Then the third update came hours later. Quiet good, outside loud. Custodian says, "You can rest now." People cry with gratitude. Noah stared at the screen. "He's shifting," he said. Lin May's voice was tight. "Lexical compression," she murmured. "Already." "It's 2 days," I said. Lin May shook her head. "It doesn't take long when someone wants it," she said. "Especially if they're exhausted." Noah's gaze stayed on the compound in the distance, as if he could see inside by force of will. "Elliot was tired when he walked in," he said. "He's the perfect candidate." That night, Lin May ran a quick analysis on Elliot's updates. She didn't need fancy algorithms. She used the same simple metrics she'd used on Eloise and Jun. Average sentence length, unique word count, causal connectors, nuance. It all dropped. "It's not just tiredness," Lin May said quietly. "It's training." "No," I corrected. "It's permission." Lin May looked at me. "They're giving him permission to stop holding his pain," I said. "And then they're telling him the only safe place to hold it is inside their system." Noah spoke softly. "That's why it works," he said. I didn't answer because I could feel it too. Even from a ridge outside the fence, the desert offered a kind of relief. No notifications, no traffic, no constant proof that the world is hungry for your attention, just wind and distance and the slow rotation of light. I understood in my body why someone might want to retreat from the world. The world is not kind to nervous systems. The cult didn't invent that. They exploited it. On the third morning, Lin May's receiver went silent. No pings, no updates, just static. She adjusted the antenna, cursed under her breath, ran diagnostics. "The beacon is still live," she said, "but he's not sending. Either he can't, or he won't." Noah's jaw tightened. "Or they took it," he said. Lin May shook her head. "No," she said. "The signal's still where he is. If they found it, they'd destroy it." Noah stared at the compound. Then he stopped, he said. He chose to stop. Marin's voice came through our secure line. We can't move yet, she said. Warrant still pending. I said, Elliot is going dark. Devlin replied, that's part of the risk. The risk is a person, I said. Devlin didn't respond. Noah turned to me. We need to go in, he said. I know, I replied. Lin May's voice was low. Calder, she said. You're required by their text. They've been calling you home. If you show up at the gate, they might let you in. Or they'll cage me, I said. Lin May held my gaze. They already tried, she said. At the headlands. You escaped. That doesn't mean you're free. Jun sat quietly in our rented motel room. Yes, we'd brought her with us. I wasn't leaving a marked witness in Sausalito with a recovery team hunting contamination. Jun listened, then whispered, They like guilt. Noah glanced at her. How do you know? He asked gently. Jun's mouth moved carefully. Guilt is rope, she whispered. I felt my throat tighten. Guilt is rope. Mercer knew that. Sable knew it. Silas knew it. They were using my guilt as a leash, and now Elliot's relief as a sedative. I stood. We go, I said. Marin's voice snapped through the line. Rowan, do not. I cut the call. Noah didn't protest. He just nodded once like he'd been waiting. Lin May stood too, already moving, already planning. If you go in, she said, you wear this. She handed me a ring. Matte black, Sigma etched inside, a collar in jewelry form. I'm not putting that on, I said. You're going to? Lin May replied, voice hard. Not because you want their tech in your body. Because if you walk in without it, you're an anomaly. Anomalies get isolated. If you wear it, you're inside the pattern. I stared at the ring. Jun watched, eyes wide, whispering, no tongue, no self. Noah's voice was quiet. Put it on, he said. I did. It felt heavy. Not physically. Morally. Lin May handed me another device, a small, flat transmitter disguised as a belt clip. This will ping if it can, she said. If it can't, it will still record. Bring it back. Noah checked his pockets, lockpicks, a small blade, nothing cinematic. He looked at me. You sure? He asked. No, I said, but I'm going anyway. We drove to the perimeter gate in Lin May's car because Lin May's car looked like everyone else's. Functional, forgettable. At the gate, a person in plain clothing stepped out of a small guard hut. Their face was calm, not hostile, not curious, as if we were expected. They looked at the ring on my finger, then they smiled faintly. Calder Rowan, they said. Welcome back. Back! The word landed like a verdict. They didn't ask for ID. They didn't ask why I was there. They simply opened the gate. Noah's gaze flicked to mine. Too easy. I nodded slightly. I know. We drove in. Inside the compound, the desert felt closer, hotter, as if the fence held the heat in. The buildings were arranged with careful intention, not random trailers, not a shabby commune. This was designed. A central hall with a high roof, wood beams, open sides for airflow, a cluster of sleeping pods, small, clean units like minimalist hotel rooms, a kitchen building, a workshop, a clinic, a data center. You could tell which building housed the servers because it was the only one with a constant low hum and a perimeter of quiet, watchful guards. Solar panels fed everything. Water was rationed. The austerity was performative. Scarcity as virtue. People moved through the compound with a particular gait, calm, unhurried, eyes down. Not the slumped fatigue of prisoners, the practiced composure of people performing serenity. A loudspeaker emitted a soft tone at regular intervals, barely audible but present. A metronome for minds. We parked near the hall. A staff member approached, woman, mid-30s, hair shaved close to the scalp. She wore no uniform, but the way she moved was disciplined. Phones? She asked. We don't have them, Noah said. The staff member's eyes flicked to our hands, our pockets, our faces. She nodded once. Names? She asked. No names inside, Jun whispered behind us in the car as if reflex. The staff member's gaze flicked to her, sharp, assessing. Ah, she said, a sister. Jun flinched. The staff member smiled gently. You can rest, she said to Jun. Then to me, the custodian will see you. No welcome speech, no intake forms, just access. We were being shepherded. We were led into the main hall. Inside, the air was cooler. The hall was full of people sitting on mats in neat rows, eyes forward. At the front was a wide screen showing a series of graphs, climate data, economic charts, headlines, real things curated into a single narrative, inevitability. A voice spoke from the front, not overblown, not theatrical, calm, measured, almost kind. You are not paranoid, the voice said. You are attentive. People exhaled as if given permission to relax. You have lived in a world that calls your nervous system a flaw, the voice continued. Here, we call it an instrument. Relief moved through the room like a wave. I felt it in my own body, unwillingly. The voice was doing something real, naming fear without mocking it. The world is ending for many people in many ways. Climate is destabilizing. Systems are brittle. Politics are violent. Algorithms erode attention. Loneliness is epidemic. The cult wasn't wrong about the pain. They were wrong about the remedy. The speaker stepped into view, not a man in robes, not a guru with jewelry. Dr. Amara Sable. She wore simple clothing. Her face was calm. Her eyes were sharp. She looked at me and smiled as if we were colleagues. Calder, she said. The room turned slightly, subtle interest, a new arrival with status. Sable gestured toward an empty mat near the front. Sit, she said. I sat because refusing would be a speech, and speeches create attention. Attention is a lever. Noah sat beside me, posture controlled. Jun sat behind us, trembling slightly, eyes down. Sable continued speaking to the group as if nothing had changed. We do not demand belief, she said. Belief is unstable. We demand practice. Practice. Another neutral word turned into a chain. We do not promise safety, she said. We promise clarity. Clarity, the most seductive word in a chaotic era. She clicked a remote. The screen changed to a simple phrase. Retreat from the world. Below it, cut day. Sever all ties. A murmur moved through the room. Anticipation, not dread. Sable's voice softened. You have been carrying too much, she said, not because you are weak, because you have been asked to metabolize a world that refuses to be coherent. That line was dangerously true. You don't need to hold it alone anymore, she added. People's shoulders lowered. Some cried silently. I understood in my bones why Elliot would struggle here. A tired person hears, you don't need to hold it alone, and feels salvation. Sable's gaze drifted to me again. Some of you, she said, will be transferred deeper into the retreat. Deeper. The language of levels of advancement. That is not punishment, she said. It is mercy, a quieter field. Quieter field. I watched faces in the crowd, people hungry for that quieter field like it was heaven. Sable's voice grew firmer. But mercy requires compliance, she said. The word sat in the hall like a fossil. I saw a few people blink as if startled by its bluntness, then settle again. They'd been prepared. Sable smiled faintly. You've seen the outside, she said. You know what comes. The question is simple. She paused, then delivered it as if it were gentle. Will you sever? The room answered with silence. Not resistance, but submission. Heads nodded, eyes lowered. Sable's gaze held mine, and for a moment her expression looked almost sympathetic. Then she said softly, You, Calder, have been holding an old burden. We'll help you set it down. My stomach tightened. Noah's jaw flexed. Sable returned her attention to the room. Begin, she said. Staff moved through the rows, handing out small envelopes. Inside, people were told, were invited to write their last messages to the outside world, then burn them. Severance made theatrical. And the genius of theatrical severance is that it creates a moment a person can't easily undo. Once you burn the letter, you can't unburn it. You can regret, but you can't reverse. That irreversibility becomes proof to the self that the choice was real. A staff member placed an envelope in my hand. It had my name printed on it. Calder Rowan. Remembering session. My throat went dry. Noah leaned in slightly. "This isn't for us," he murmured. I whispered back, "It's for me." Sable's voice continued, calm and relentless. "Some of you are here because the outside world harmed you," she said. "Some because you harmed it." I felt my jaw tighten. "We don't judge," she said. "Judgment is noise. We correct." Correct. A blade disguised as care. Finding Elliot inside the compound was easier than it should have been. That's how I knew it was a trap. He was in the workshop, a long open-sided building where people assembled something with careful hands. Solar battery packs, perhaps. Water filtration units. Practical things. The kind of labor that feels pure compared to sending emails. Elliot stood at a table, sleeves rolled up, hands steady as he tightened a bolt on a metal frame. He looked better, not healthier. Better in the way addicts look better when they first get clean. Less chaotic, more aligned, eyes bright. Relief is a narcotic. He glanced up when we entered and his face softened, faint surprise. "Calder," he said. My stomach tightened. He didn't say Mr. Rowan. He didn't say sir. He said my first name like we were in the same tribe. "You're supposed to be sending pings," I said. Elliot blinked once, slow. "No signal," he said. I didn't argue. He was lying, but not maliciously. He was repeating a frame. Noah stepped in beside me. "You okay?" he asked. Elliot's mouth curved slightly. "Yes," he said, for the first time in a long time. Noah's eyes narrowed. "That's the problem," he said quietly. Elliot turned his gaze to Noah and studied him. "You're the survivor," he said. Not insulting, identifying. Noah's jaw tightened. Elliot looked back at me. "They told me you'd come," he said. "Of course they did," I replied. Elliot set the tool down carefully, as if abrupt motion was vulgar. He wiped his hands on a cloth with slow deliberation. "This place is," he began, then stopped. He searched for words that weren't slogans. "It's quiet," he said. "Yes," I said. "That's the product." Elliot's eyes flickered. "You say that like it's a con," he said. "It is," I replied, "but it's also a service. That's the point." Elliot looked at me, puzzled. I kept my voice even. "They're giving you relief," I said, "and then they'll invoice you in obedience." Elliot's mouth tightened. "You think I'm weak," he said. "I think you're tired," I said. "There's a difference." Elliot's gaze drifted past us to the open desert beyond the workshop. A strip of light, distance, nothing to answer to. "I can breathe here," he said quietly. Noah's voice was careful. "You can breathe in a cave too," he said. "It doesn't mean the cave is good for you." Elliot's eyes narrowed. "You don't get it," he said. Noah didn't flinch. "I do," he said. "That's why I'm talking." Elliot's throat moved. For a second, I saw the conflict. Mission discipline versus the seduction of being allowed to stop. I stepped closer, lowering my voice. "Elliot," I said, "do you know what day it is?" He blinked. "Cut day," he said. "What's the date?" I asked. He hesitated, his mouth opened, then closed. Time disorientation is not mystical. It's a tactic. "You don't know," I said gently. Elliot's jaw tightened. "The date doesn't matter," he said. "That's another line," I said. Elliot flinched, not at the accusation, but at the implication that his calm was borrowed. Noah watched him with a kind of sad patience. "Elliot," I said, "what brought you into this job?" He frowned. "Justice," he said quickly. I held his gaze. "No," I said. "That's the slogan. What brought you in?" Elliot's throat moved again. He began. His eyes darted away. "I wanted—" He stopped. Language snagged, and I waited. Finally he said quietly, "I wanted it to stop." "What?" Noah asked, soft. Elliot's voice dropped to a whisper. "The noise," he said. "The constant—" He gestured vaguely as if the world were too large to name. I understood him too well. The internet is noise. Politics is noise. News is noise. Trauma is noise. Sometimes your own conscience is noise. Cults sell silence the way drug dealers sell sleep. I kept my voice calm. They're not wrong that the world is overwhelming, I said. They're wrong that the solution is severance. Elliot stared at me. Have you ever wanted to sever? He asked. The question landed with weight. Yes, I thought, and I severed once. From the agency, from my colleagues, from a life built on secrets and justifications. I told myself I was choosing ethics. I was also choosing relief. I have, I admitted. Elliot's eyes softened, and in that softening I saw danger, connection. He felt seen by me, and that made the cult's narrative stronger. Because if even Calder Rowan, detective, skeptic, admits he wanted to sever, then severance feels like a reasonable human act. I had to be careful. Validation can become recruitment. I've wanted relief, I corrected. Not captivity. Elliot's mouth tightened. This isn't captivity, he said. No? I asked. I pointed subtly to the ring on his finger. Can you take it off? I asked. Elliot's gaze flicked to his hand. He tried to slide the ring. It didn't move easily. It wasn't welded, but it was snug enough to make removal inconvenient. A small inconvenience becomes 1,000 small surrenders. Elliot's jaw tightened. It's just a device, he said. What does it measure? I asked. Elliot hesitated. Noah leaned in slightly. Compliance, he said. Elliot flinched. I kept going, voice gentle but relentless. Do you have your phone? I asked. No, he said. Do you know where it is? I asked. He didn't answer. Do you know when you can leave? I asked. Elliot's mouth tightened. When I'm ready, he said. That's not an answer, Noah said quietly. Elliot's eyes flashed with irritation. You two are immune to relief, he snapped. Noah's expression didn't change. No, he said. We're just afraid of what it costs. Elliot stared at him. Then his voice dropped, almost pleading. I don't want to go back out there, he said. There it was, the honest sentence. I felt something shift in my chest, not strategy, not irritation, recognition. I know, I said. Elliot looked up at me sharply. No, he said. You don't. You have a boat. You have an office. You have your little team. You get to pretend you're outside the system. The words hit harder than he intended. They carried his own resentment toward anyone who seems less trapped. I didn't defend myself. Defense would become debate, and debate concedes equivalence. The sutra had been right about that. Instead, I named the truth he was circling. This place feels like relief because it's simplifying your life, I said. They've removed your choices and called it peace. Elliot's mouth trembled slightly. Anger and longing tangled. They give you a schedule, I continued, a vocabulary, a narrative where your fear isn't your fault. It's evidence you're awake. And the world outside becomes a villain, so you never have to hold your own ambiguity again. Elliot stared at me. I lowered my voice. Cults work, I said, because they solve real pain badly. The sentence landed in the workshop like a dropped tool. People nearby didn't look up, but I saw a few shoulders tighten. Even here, words travel. Elliot's eyes glistened unexpectedly. Real pain, he whispered. Yes, I said. The pain is real. The solution is the con. Elliot swallowed hard. What if the world really is ending? He asked. The question wasn't academic. It was a plea for permission to hide. I didn't laugh. I didn't dismiss it. Dismissal is how you lose someone. The world has always been ending for someone, I said. In 536, volcanic winter dimmed the sun, and people wrote that the world had gone grey. In 1918, influenza moved faster than truth. In the Cold War, children practiced hiding under desks, as if wood could stop physics. Every era has had its apocalypse. I gestured toward the desert. The desert makes apocalypse feel clean, I said, like a simple narrative. But the end of the world is rarely a single event. It's usually a slow unraveling, and the most human thing you can do in an unraveling is stay connected. Elliot's eyes tightened. Connected hurts, he said. Yes, I said. That's the price of being alive. Noah spoke softly. And it's the price of staying yourself, he added. Elliot's gaze flicked to Noah. Who are you two? He began, then stopped. He didn't know. That was the problem. He didn't know Noah's history, his survival. He just saw an obstacle. I made the decision then. Elliot, I said, we're leaving. His face hardened. No, he said. I didn't raise my voice. Yes, I said. Elliot's eyes flashed. You can't. I can, I said. And you can come, or you can stay and become an asset. He flinched at the word. I leaned closer, voice quiet. If you stay, I said, they'll use you. They'll use your badge, your skills, your exhaustion. They'll make you a witness. They'll turn you into pressure for the next person. Elliot's jaw tightened. Maybe I want that, he said. The lie was too sharp. It cut him as he spoke it. Noah's voice was low. You don't, he said. You want rest, not power. Elliot's hands curled into fists, then loosened. He looked, for a second, like a man waking from anesthesia and realizing where he is. A shadow fell across the workshop entrance. Dr. Mara Sable stepped in. She didn't look angry. She looked curious. Elliot, she said softly, are you introducing noise? Elliot stiffened. I felt in my body the old reflex, don't show your hand. Sable's gaze moved to me. She smiled faintly. Calder, she said. You're doing what you wrote. My stomach tightened. No debate, she continued gently. Direct extraction, clean. She tilted her head. It's almost touching. I'm leaving, I said. Sable nodded as if agreeing with a student. Eventually, she said, but first you'll remember. No, I said. Sable's smile didn't waver. Yes, she said, you've been required. The word required fell into the workshop like a chain. Elliot's eyes widened. The spell shifted. Suddenly he wasn't sure who was in control. Sable's voice softened. Elliot, she said, you can rest now. Don't let old world men pull you back into noise. Old world men. She framed us instantly as patriarchy, as system, as danger. It was a familiar tactic. Isolate the target by delegitimizing the rescuer. Noah's jaw tightened, but he didn't take the bait. I didn't either. I looked at Elliot and spoke quietly, directly. Come, I said. Elliot hesitated, one long breath. Then, to my surprise, he nodded once. Not fully awake, but enough. We moved. Not running. Running is spectacle. We moved with the steady pace of people who belong. Sable watched us go, eyes calm. She didn't stop us. That's what chilled me, because if she wanted to, she could, which meant she was letting us leave for a reason. We got as far as the sleeping pod area before the compound's tone changed. A low chime sounded, soft, not alarming, more like a mindfulness bell. People in the courtyard paused. Staff shifted positions. A voice came over the loudspeaker, calm and precise. Integrity check, it said. Witness requested. Witness requested. I felt my skin tighten. Elliot's breathing sped slightly. His shoulders rose. Noah murmured, they're activating the crowd. And then I saw it. A cluster of people gathering near the hall, drawn by the sound like moths to light. Not angry, curious, ready to be useful. Witness is pressure. Pressure is surrender. The sutra wasn't theory, it was choreography. Lin May's voice crackled in my ear, faint, breaking through the desert's dead zones. Calder, movement on your left, she whispered. 2 guards. Noah turned his head slightly. We can't go out the front, he murmured. I nodded. I'd noticed earlier a maintenance route near the water tower, a line of piping and fencing that led toward the back perimeter where the ground dipped into a dry wash. In the desert, washes are deceptive. Most of the year they're dust. Then one storm turns them into rivers. They are channels waiting for permission. We moved toward the water tower. Elliot kept up, but his gaze kept flicking back towards the hall. The crowd's pull was real. Don't look back, Noah said softly. Elliot swallowed. I'm not, he lied. We reached the maintenance fence. It was locked, but not with a heavy lock. A cheap padlock, a symbol more than a barrier. Noah crouched, hands moving. The lock gave way quietly. We slipped through. Behind us, the loudspeaker chimed again. "Witness requested," it repeated. The phrase had the calm insistence of a notification you can't dismiss. We descended into the dry wash, dust puffing around our shoes. The air smelled of creosote, resinous, sharp, the smell of the desert after heat. The wash curved toward the outer perimeter fence where the ground rose again. We moved quickly now, but not frantically. Then a light swept across the wash, flashlight beam, controlled, searching. A voice called, "Calm! Elliot!" Not shouted, not panicked, just named. Elliot froze. His body recognized his name as a command. I grabbed his wrist. "Move!" I said, low. He stumbled, then followed. Noah murmured, "They're using him. They know his hooks." We reached the perimeter fence. It was higher than I'd expected. Chain link with a top roll, not razor wire, but enough to discourage. Noah pulled out his small tool and began working on the fastening at the base. "Too slow," Elliot whispered. Noah didn't look up. "Then climb," he said. Elliot stared at the fence, then at me, eyes wide. I didn't offer a pep talk. Pep talk's a noise. I climbed. The metal was cold in the desert night air. My hands gripped. My muscles worked. The ring on my finger caught briefly on the chain link. I yanked my hand free, leaving a small scrape on my knuckle. Pain is honest. I swung a leg over the top and dropped to the other side, landing in dirt. Noah followed, agile. Elliot hesitated. The flashlight beam swept closer. A voice called again, louder now. "Elliot, come back!" It wasn't threatening. It sounded like an invitation to rest. Elliot's shoulders sagged. His body leaned almost involuntarily toward the voice. That was when I understood the deepest danger. The cult didn't need to restrain him. They needed to offer him a place where resistance felt like self-harm. I stepped close to Elliot, voice quiet, direct, the way you speak to someone standing near a ledge. "Elliot," I said, "you can rest in the world. It's harder, but it's yours." His eyes flicked to mine. In them I saw fear, not of the cult, but of returning to his own life. Noah said softly, "And you won't be alone." Elliot swallowed. Then he climbed. His movements were clumsy, rushed. He nearly slipped at the top, and I grabbed his arm and hauled him over. We hit the ground on the far side and ran, finally running, down the slope into open desert where the compound lights faded behind us. A vehicle engine started behind the fence. Not loud, not frantic, a pursuit with patience. Lin May's voice crackled again, stronger now. "Car 2 minutes out," she said. "Head to the ridge marker. Big rock, looks like a broken tooth." We ran through scrub and sand, breathing hard. The night sky above was dense with stars. In the desert, stars don't feel romantic. They feel indifferent, like a record of how small you are. Elliot gasped. "They're right! They're what?" I asked, breath rough. He struggled. "They're calm," he said. "Yes," Noah replied. "So are we." Lin May's car appeared over the ridge, headlights dimmed, engine low. She had driven it like someone stealing herself back from panic. We piled in. Lin May didn't ask questions. She drove. Behind us in the rearview mirror, 2 headlights appeared far off. Pursuit vehicles, keeping distance, not trying to ram, just tracking. "They're letting us go," Noah said quietly. "Why?" Lin May asked, voice tight. I stared into the darkness behind us. "Because this wasn't about catching us, I thought, and it was about making sure we carried something out. Witness, pressure, leverage." Then Elliot spoke from the back seat, voice small. "They said," he began, then stopped, breath hitching. "They said you would come." I didn't answer. "They said you'd pull me out," he whispered, "and that you'd feel proud." Noah's eyes flicked to mine. "They set you up," Noah murmured. "Yes," I said. Lin May's knuckles were white on the steering wheel. "Calder," she said. "We need to know if Tess is there." Elliot shook his head slightly, eyes unfocused. "I didn't see her," he whispered. "But I heard her name. They said—" He swallowed hard. "They said she's ready for public remembering." public remembering. My stomach dropped. Public stream? Noah asked, voice tight. Elliot nodded faintly. They said it's for you, he whispered. They said your guilt is useful. Useful. The word hit like a bruise. Lin May's phone chimed. She glanced at it, and her face drained of color. What? I asked. She handed me the phone without taking her eyes off the road. A notification. Reintegration session. Live in 24 hours. Guest, Calder Rowan. Beneath it, smaller. Return condition, remembering. I stared at the words until my eyes ached. Noah's voice was low. They're going to broadcast you, he said. Lin May's voice was tight with fury. They're going to frame you, she said. They're going to turn your past into their legitimacy. Elliot whispered, almost apologetic. I'm sorry. I didn't look back at him, not because I blamed him, because I understood too well how close he'd come to staying. I looked out at the desert, at the road unspooling into darkness, at the faint glow of the compound fading behind us like a mirage. Cults don't win by being insane. They win by offering relief where the world offers overload. They win by naming real pain and then packaging obedience as the cure. And now they were offering me the same thing, a chance to lay down guilt, to remember, to be absolved by the very system that had weaponized my words. A part of me, small, shameful, felt the pull. Not toward the cult, toward the fantasy of being released from my own history. That's what made my hands clench. Because if I could feel that pull, then anyone could. Even Tess, even Elliot, even me. Lin May drove faster, dust rising behind us. In the distance, the compound lights disappeared completely, swallowed by night. But the network didn't vanish. It simply relocated. Into our phones, into our inboxes, into the quiet places guilt likes to hide. My secure phone buzzed. Unknown number. One line, you pulled one out. Good. Now come for the rest, or watch. I stared at the message, then at the dark road ahead. We'd escaped the desert. We hadn't escaped the system. And somewhere behind us, inside Sable Range, inside a hall full of grateful witnesses, Tess was being prepared for public remembering. Her resistance renamed noise, her silence framed as mercy. The next episode wasn't going to be about finding a cult. It was going to be about whether I could survive being turned into scripture.